Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video, I wanted to talk about the natal aspect, moon opposite to Saturn. So, these are some of the most difficult aspects to have in the natal chart, although the square aspect between moon and Saturn is probably a lot more difficult than the opposition. Something that I read about this opposition that blew my mind is that it is kind of a natural expression of the planets, right? Because the moon naturally rules the fourth house in Cancer, and Saturn naturally rules the 10th house and Capricorn. And so people with the moon opposite to Saturn are actually not in a conflict with those energies. They are naturally in opposition. And if, you have the moon in Cancer opposing Saturn in Capricorn, or if this is in the 4th versus 10th house with the moon in the 4th and Saturn in the 10th, this is a lot more natural to deal with than the square aspect because, just naturally the moon does rule Cancer in the 4th house, and Saturn does rule Capricorn in the 10th house. So it's easier to deal with this opposition than some. What you'll find, or what I've found with this opposition, is that people usually have their life pretty together as far as external responsibilities go. Now, it's interesting because a lot different than the square, which is more like a constant state of tension, these people fluctuate between having everything together as far as the career goes or the external image, the goals that we're striving towards. These people can be very goal oriented. So they either have that going on, and that's all really like a success, and it's like they are quite successful in the outer world, or they don't have any ambitions like that. They're not career oriented, and the moon energy, right? So, parenting, the home, being a housewife, all of these things are the big focus, and this is where their energy goes. It goes to not just, those things, but also, emotional things, or even sometimes like psychic abilities are strong, or like very lunar energies. And what's difficult with this opposition to deal with is like having both of these polarities at the same time, which is actually something that they very much want on some level because they're so strong, especially if moon is in Cancer or in, a more emotional sign. They're so strongly emotional, but at the same time, they're very strongly Saturnian with a desire for, external success and achievement and to be kind of like the boss of their own life. And where they struggle is to find that balance between these two areas. So, like, it's either the home is taking all of their energy and they're just totally immersed in, motherhood and being a parent, or these emotional things that are taking over their life or taking all their energy. So they're totally in that, or like I said, they're totally the career person, and you wouldn't even know that they have feelings because that is concealed from the outer world. And yeah, so it's very interesting, the two manifestations, and that's the energy of the opposition aspect. It manifests so much differently than the other aspects. It's a very flip-flopping energy. Sometimes we're all on the moon side, and then sometimes we're all on the Saturn side, and it's hard to meet in the middle. And ultimately, to meet in the middle is what you are truly seeking with these aspects, or this aspect, sorry. So it's not easy to deal with, but like I said, there is a natural energy to this opposition. It's like sometimes your priorities are in line, right? Because, family is the most important thing. And, career is also very important. And, working towards a goal is also very important. And these things are, of utmost importance to the moon opposite Saturn individual. Now, where they can really struggle the most is relationships. Sometimes they will be the Saturn person. And now I don't mean in synastry, I just mean as, their personality. Sometimes these people can appear so cold and just even stingy, right? There's a certain thriftiness with Moon Saturn hard aspects, right? Because there's never enough. So they're not going to come on to you with the most generous energy at times because they want to be sure you're the real deal and you're not going to take from them, right? So they can definitely appear closed off and actually close off their energy to the relationships that they seek ultimately because of this sort of stoic, reserved, emotional energy. Now, men with this aspect in their natal chart can attract a woman who is like that, right? Maybe she's career focused. Maybe she's, not very emotional or not very open about her affections, or maybe she's emotionally unavailable. Maybe she's with someone else. She's actually physically unavailable. There can be issues there. Now, women with this opposition, it's like the flip-flopping thing that I said. Like, sometimes they can appear very lunar and very emotional and like, the perfect housewife Cancer moon energy. And that's a part of their allure and attractiveness. Sometimes they can really embody that energy. And then after a while, they get fed up with being that, and maybe they get hurt, maybe they get they go through some sort of heartbreak or something, and they shut that part off, and then they become the career woman. And it's hard for them to realize that they want both of these two opposing energies. They really actually, on the inside of themselves, they want to be the moon and they want to also be the Saturn. It's in them. It's both sides of this opposition are a part of them. And success in the outer world is also important to them. So it's like learning how to have both of these at the same time, both of these archetypes, or meeting in the middle. The way that I see it is like the mother, the housewife who also has a blog or, some sort of online presence or something. Or, it doesn't have to look like that, but that's just one example of like having both, right? So, yeah, what else do I want to say about this? Usually the childhood, there was an over focus on work and on, financial things. There wasn't enough time to have fun and be a kid. Often sometimes a parent could have even died young or being physically absent or was always at work. And it's not necessarily the father either. It could have been either. There's a lack of both of those energies. Oh, where did that come from? That is what creates this opposition, right? There's a lack of both a mother and a father presence, or at least those archetypes. So, they could have been raised by emotionally cold parents where they're both cold. Maybe they're both there, but they're both emotionally unavailable to nurture the child. There's a lack of nurturing, right? That's very common with Moon Saturn hard aspects, is that there's actually a lack of nurturing. I think, some of the books will say like maybe they didn't get enough milk, like there wasn't breastfeeding, or there wasn't, what the child needed or the infant needed for nourishment, they were unable to get. So there could be some sort of theme like that. Or, like I said, both the parents could have been working, right? And so the child didn't get a lot of interaction. Often in Moon, Saturn, hard aspect people, both the parents were like in the public eye. And so you could see that they were more focused on like the external image of what a family should look like, rather than how that family actually felt to the children or the child. So that's a common Moon Saturn energy, as well as like, we'll just make sure we look good, take that family photo, and we're in the newspaper, and we're like, even, yeah, like in the public eye, we look like the perfect family. But at home, nobody cares about me. Nobody cares about my feelings. Nobody is available to even feed me, And the Moon Saturn person might end up learning when they're very young how to like take care of themselves. Or maybe they have to take care of a parent who is ill or old or unable to take care of themselves, or a sibling. There could have been a sibling that also needed care. And so the person with the moon opposing Saturn might be great at parenting every single person in their life except themselves. They do not know what to do when it comes to self-care. Self-care doesn't come naturally to them. They can care for others. They're used to that. They expect that. They sort of expect to attract needy people who need their care or who need their parental energy, and they can give it. They resent it, but they can give it. But when it comes to nurturing the self and self-care and having a spa day or something, that is like out of the question. That takes work. That takes effort to rewire the consciousness, rewire the childhood, the inner child, to accept giving, accept and expect that other people want to give to you. Other people want to make you feel nurtured and make you feel loved, and you're not a burden. You're not, people with this opposition, they can feel like they're not worthy until they're taking care of someone else or fixing someone else's problems, or being highly successful at work, or they have this certain amount of money, or they have this perfect life to the outside world. They can struggle with feeling emotional fulfillment when they haven't checked all these boxes of what they think the perfect life should look like. And the perfect home life also is a big part, but also the perfect career, and then fluctuating between which one of these is more important to them. But, recognizing all of these things and these outer appearances are far less important than how we really feel internally. How we feel internally, and inner peace, and, maybe we don't have a lot, but we have what we need to feel emotionally safe, nurtured, secure. That's what we need with this aspect. That's what's more important than any of that other stuff, is that we feel peace and emotional fulfillment. And it's a journey with this aspect. It's not like it has to happen super late in life, but it also doesn't usually happen early in life that we learn these things. The first Saturn return is going to bring it all up, of course. And then, it's going to affect this opposition. And then after that, it becomes clearer on what we need to do to balance this polarity. Now, it is much easier to balance this than, like I said, the square or even the quincunx, because we just have to find that middle ground. right? That meeting point, that polarity integration, the masculine and the feminine. We have to find that place in the middle, right? And balance these opposing energies, these opposing desires that we have. But once we do that, the world is yours, right? The world is yours. People, like I said, with this opposition tend to be very successful. There's a real like business attitude that they have. And if they can have that, not at the expense of their own feelings, then they can truly have it all. They can have that picture perfect life that they want without sacrificing their emotional needs, right? You get to have it all with this aspect. And that's a belief that you need to download in, is like, I don't need to sacrifice my home life for my career, or I don't need to sacrifice my career for my home life. What if I could have it all, right? Because with this opposition, you are meant to have it all. And your relationships can be very rewarding because you love deeply. And if you can have the courage to open your heart to someone and show like your real self, your real personality, your real care to them, then you're going to receive back, that same care. So sometimes with hard Saturn aspects, it is kind of like you get what you give. And with this opposition, you might have to learn how to become a little bit more giving. And you will, when you recognize, this abundant energy that you deserve to have, this good, right? And it's inherent and it's meant for you, then you can give a little bit more of yourself. You can show a little bit more of who you really are and your authenticity. Because you recognize that nobody can take from you if you don't let them. And also, abundance is this ever-flowing stream of God, right? You don't have to worry about living in lack. You don't have to worry about living in the circumstances that you came from in childhood, because that's a common theme here, is like, we think we're going to keep creating that same scenario over and over again because Saturn is like the god of time, right? But you ultimately have the power to break that pattern and say, no, that is not how my life is going to look. And you actually have a lot of manifestation power with this opposition. Like, you can dream it into being, but it's not just that. It's like you will actually do what is required because of your work ethic, right? Because you get the best of both worlds here. You get the emotional lunar nature, which is the dream, the vision, the manifestation power. And then you get the practicality, the steps. You know the path, and you actually can take those steps to bring the dream into reality. Saturn. So, yeah, I'd love to know your experience of this aspect if you have it. And I'm sending you all the love. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll talk soon. Bye.